In the last stream, we were working on setting up this dreadful dirt mob farm using a bunch of tools from the mob grinding utilities mod. We have our dreadful dirt and our mob grinder that is supercharged with looting upgrades and sharpness upgrades. So now the mobs are spawned, they are pushed via the fastest vector plates money can buy into the mob masher. The mob masher kills them instantly and deposits the massive amount of mob drops that we get from each mob into this chest. We then have all of, or almost all of the items in the chest either sent to a trash can or sent around into our storage drawers. The main reason that we went through all of the effort to set that up in the last stream is that we needed a staggering number of ender pearls in order to get through to the end. The goal of getting to the end was to allow us to get started with the digital resources mod. This is a super powerful mod. The basic gist of it is you put down the resource simulator, you put in one of these chipsets. I believe it does require power, but at that point, the resource simulator will just generate that resource. So we put, for example, a netherite chipset into the resource simulator, give it power, and the resource simulator will just produce netherite. It doesn't require power, it just works, according to the pack creator who is in the Twitch chat and who also made this mod. That just makes it potentially even more busted than it already is. So you just put the chipset into the resource simulator and it just produces that resource. There are then speed upgrades to produce more of whichever resource you pick, and there are quantity upgrades to increase the number of resources that you get per cycle of resource generation. And I believe you can stack these quite a few times. It might be 8 of each potentially, although I could be wrong on that. But either way, once we have this up and running, we should be able to get a ton of whichever resource we decide to make first. And then I think it's going to have a little bit of a snowball effect where once we get our first resource simulator, we can pick our first chipset. We can then use that to make whatever item is needed to make a lot more of these chipsets. Specifically, I think netherite is going to be the first one we want to make. And then once we have multiple of the chipsets, we can, of course, make multiple of the resource simulators and then try and get one for every single chipset until we have basically an infinite amount of all of these resources here, at which point we can probably say farewell to our quarry and we can probably retire the foundry here as our source of resource processing because we're not really going to need it. But I am getting a little bit ahead of myself because it is going to take a little bit of work from where we are now to getting started with digital resources. Specifically, we need a nether star. I'll bookmark that. I will bookmark the actual resource simulator because that's kind of the main thing that we're trying to make today. We need to get a fair amount of netherite. We need 1 block to craft the resource simulator along with 4 ingots per null upgrade. We need 2 of them, and we also need another 2 for the null chipset. So we are going to need quite a bit of netherite. We also need 2 dragon's breath, hence the end portal and hence the mob farm for the ender pearls. And on top of that, we need a shulker shell, and we need a shulker shell for every single one of the chipsets that we're going to make. Again, for today, we'll probably just end up getting 1 chipset, but going forward, that is something we are going to have to get a lot more of. So we'll start, I think, with none of that, and instead we'll start by heading over to our cryptocurrency because I want to make yet another purchase. And that purchase is this guy right here, the backpack from the Sophisticated Backpacks mod. It's fairly cheap to make. It only requires 16 cryptocurrency. It's also fairly cheap to craft as well. So if you didn't want to spend crypto on this, you could just buy one. But given that we have basically an infinite amount of crypto now, we've got 717 in total, but we're making more all the time, we might as well go ahead and buy it. The reason I wanted this backpack in particular is that if we go to @sophisticated in JEI, this backpack is super nifty in that it has this slot on the left here for upgrades. And for me personally, the best upgrade this mod adds is this one right here, the feeding upgrade. This upgrade will feed the player with food from the backpack. As you will know, if you have watched any of the previous streams or any of the previous episodes or any episode of any content I've made in this game ever, you will know that I am terrible at remembering to eat regularly. And even, I believe, in the last episode, we got to the point where I was taking damage due to a lack of eating. And so if we can get this feeding upgrade, we can put it into the backpack. We can fill the backpack with any food we like, most likely baked potatoes. And at that point, we really won't have to think about eating again until the backpack runs out of food, at which point we can just fill it up and we'll be good to go for a ton of episodes. It'll be great. So to make this, it's really not too difficult. We need 1 ender pearl. We have 1,000. We need 1 glistening melon slice, 1 golden carrot, 1 golden apple, and 1 upgrade base. I believe the upgrade base is fairly easy. It is indeed 4 iron, 4 string, and 1 leather. We are missing the leather there, although I'm fairly certain that we have made leather before. We have. It is just made from protein. We don't have any protein, but we can get protein via string. We can throw the string into the dissolver. That gets us this stuff right here, the keratin. And if we break that down, we get the protein. The protein can be turned into leather. And the leather was the only item we were missing to make the upgrade base. Nice. In terms of the apple, boom, we have an apple lying around. The golden apple, super easy. Carrot-wise, we don't have any carrots in the system, but I am fairly certain that there is at least 1 carrot over in the mob farm here. There is indeed. And if memory serves me right, I'm pretty sure that the glistening carrot is just nuggets. It is indeed. As for the melon, I'm almost certain we don't have any melon slices just yet. We don't. But again, I'm also fairly certain that we can craft melon seeds using the combiner. We can. It's sucrose and triglyceride. The sucrose we should have. We don't, but I think we can get it from sugar. Yes, you get 1 sucrose for 1 sugar, and also the same is true for 1 sugar cane. We can also make it with carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and then the triglyceride is also the same. It's carbon, it's hydrogen, and it's oxygen. So let's grab some carbon, because I'm fairly certain we don't have any triglyceride. We don't. Let's grab some hydrogen, and let's grab some oxygen. And then over here, let's get ourselves a triglyceride. Boom, boom, boom. And then let's grab a sugar. Break that down in the dissolver. Recombine that up over in here. Boom and boom. And there we go. We get a melon seed. Nice. So I think for now, we'll go ahead and drop this down in place of my little potato patch, which I've been using over here to gather potatoes anytime I need new food. Let's plant the melon seed like that. And then can I shift to make this faster? I totally can. Now, I don't know if shifting once the stem is fully grown actually makes the melon grow any faster. So the Twitch chat is telling me that there is a potential hole in my vanilla Minecraft knowledge, and that the melon actually requires a block of dirt in order to spawn. Hey, there we go. So I think the shifting there does actually make it faster, which is fantastic. There are our melon slices. And so now, if we want to make glistening melon, we can just craft that with some golden nuggets. And I think, chat, that that is everything that we need to make ourselves a feeding upgrade. Nice. So let's quickly get a large number of potatoes that we can then go ahead and bake in our diamond furnace. And once we have some baked potatoes here, we can go ahead and open up the backpack here. We can throw in the feeding upgrade. We can put the baked potatoes in. And I do believe that there is a curio slot over here that we can put the backpack into to allow us to also wear armor at the same time. And if I'm not mistaken, we can also go to controls, key bindings, and backpack. And then it is set to B by default, but B also has conflicts with cycle mode down, balance crafting grid, and create waypoint. If we get rid of those, we should be able to press B and open the backpack without having to go through to the curios menu, take it out, and right click, which is going to be very useful for refilling this in the future. And so yeah, I think basically, chat, that should be our food situation kind of taken care of. Going forward, whenever we notice that we are starting to lose hunger or we don't have full hunger all the time, we'll know that it's time to fill up on potatoes or whatever food source we decide to use in the future. And so yeah, hopefully, going forward, the Twitch chat shouldn't have to spend anywhere near as much time shouting at me to eat, which is going to be great for everybody. So now that's taken care of, if we're going to get through to the end, we need 12 end portal frame, as well as 12 eyes of ender. To make the end portal frame, we need some obsidian, some eyes of ender, and the more important or hard to get resource is the end stone. We are going to need 96 end stone. And to get 96 end stone, because each end stone requires 4 end sand, that means we're going to need 384 end sand, which is 384 sand along with 384 ender pearls in the mixer with a superheated blaze burner. So the ender pearls we have and the sand we can get from silicon, between streams I have gone ahead and moved the mixer here. You can see it's now part of this vast contraption. More importantly, it's now connected to our boiler over here, so we don't have to manually crank it Basically, all I've done here, it looks a little janky, but what I have done is if you have two of the big cogwheels, you can put them down like in this L-shaped fashion here. So if I get rid of both of these, we had this previously. I placed down a large cogwheel like this, and then you can see if you try and place down another large cogwheel near a large cogwheel, it kind of shows you that you can put it at the bottom like that, or you can put it on the side or on the top. But if you put it on the bottom, it will then rotate this, and because this guy requires a cogwheel next to it, I was going to go ahead and do something like that, and then that transfers the kinetic power over to the whisk, and so going forward, we shouldn't have to manually crank that mechanical mixer, but we are going to have to superheat our blaze burner. And in order to do that, we need blaze cake, this stuff right here. There is a creative blaze cake, which gives you an infinite amount of superheating capabilities, because the blaze cake, much like any other fuel, does only last for a certain period of time. In this case, 6,400 ticks, which is just over 5 minutes. So I think one blaze cake will do the trick here. If not, we could possibly make a second one. But in order to make the blaze cake, we need to deposit 250 millibuckets of lava onto a blaze cake base. The blaze cake base requires an egg, sugar, and cinder flour. The cinder flour is the bit that's a little tricky because it requires 2 crushing wheels, and you can make 2 crushing wheels using the mechanical crafters. So we need to make 21 mechanical crafters. These are not too difficult to make, although they are going to take us a second here. We need 7 crafting tables, easy enough, 7 brass casing, and 7 electron tubes. Now, between streams, I have done a little bit of work. I got some more andesite alloy, just because we've been making that a ton. I knew we were going to need some. I bulk made a stack of andesite alloy. I also made a couple of wooden machine frames here, because again, we're going to do quite a few of those to make all of the andesite casing and all of the copper casing and brass casing that we're going to need for the mechanical crafters. Specifically, we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. We then need to right-click all of those with andesite alloy. We can then pick all these up. And then I believe we need to then whisk these with copper sheets in order to make the copper casing, and then we need to deposit the molten brass onto that copper casing to get the brass casing. So real quick, let's grab 7 copper ingots. We can throw those down onto this depot here, which is now a little bit trickier to access, but shouldn't take too long. At that point, we can also drop these in here. I don't know if this needs to be heated or not. It does. Okay, so let's grab some wood as well. Once these are done, we can go ahead and drop those in. Okay, so mistakes were made. Apparently, I had left some andesite alloy in the mixer, and so I've accidentally mixed 7 andesite alloy with my 7 andesite casing to make 7 depots. Gosh dang it. Okay, fine. Let's get rid of the depots there. Thankfully for us, we do have exactly 7 wooden machine frames left, so let's try that one more time here. We're going to make 7 andesite alloy. We're going to break that and then place all 7 of those into an empty basin. It is empty. Like this. We'll then throw in the 7 copper sheets. There we go. And we'll then reheat this guy with some wood. And there we go. Now this is much, much faster than it was previously when we were doing it by hand. It is using more stress units, but we don't have to manually crank it, so it's fine. And then in terms of brass, we do have some available here. That's done. Perfect. And I think we also still have some inside of the spout downstairs as well. So let's quickly take a look over here. We have got 450 millibuckets in. So it's 2 ingots per copper casing, which means we need 10 more ingots if we're going to make this work. Although we do have 90 millibuckets in there, so that's 9 ingots. If we drop all of those in, like that, we should be able to, once again, grab our fluid pipe. I'm also going to go to the muffler here, type in rain, and turn the Minecraft rain sounds all the way down because I'm not a fan of them whatsoever. Let's do this. Let's make sure that the brass is at the bottom of the smeltering. Let's disconnect this here so we don't end up with brass in the table there, and then we will set this to extract, and that should create the remaining brass casings. Nice. I did also go ahead and make some rose quartz between stream. We have 7 there, and all we need to do now is grab our sandpaper. I think we're probably going to have to make another sandpaper. Yeah, that only has 4 durability remaining. So real quick, let's do one of these, and by one of these, I mean one of these, and then one of these. And then let's do a little bit of sanding. And there we go. We have 7 polished rose quartz. We should then hopefully be able to craft that somewhat easily into 7 electron tubes. We just need 7 iron plates. Once we have 7 iron sheets, boom and boom, we get the electron tubes. And at that point, I think the only thing that we are missing is 7 vanilla crafting tables. And once we have those, we can go ahead and craft up 21 of these mechanical crafters. And now these also require rotational energy like this. And so it's going to look a little bit janky. But that's never stopped me before. Now, we do need to put these down in a specific pattern. Specifically, if we're going to make the crushing wheels here, they need to go down like this in this kind of plus-shaped arrangement. So let's do something like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm putting them down here because although it looks a little bad, it's going to allow us to easily pull this rotational energy over into the mechanical crafting system, which is going to allow us to hopefully very quickly craft these crushing wheels. So something like, I think I can rotate that after the fact, but something like this. And if we quickly rotate that to face forward, nope, you can't rotate that. That's fine. Let's do this. There we go. So this is the correct orientation. And now, in order to actually craft in this, we have to do 2 things. I do believe we have to give it an output destination. In this case, a barrel is going to make the most sense because we're going to whack it right about there, and we want to be able to open it once it is done crafting. And then the next thing we have to do is we have to make sure that all of these mechanical crafters are pointing towards the barrel in one way or another. So for example, right now, these are pointing down, and if you right-click them with the wrench, it will change the way they point. Now, if you have one of these mechanical crafters pointing into another, they will connect like this. So now you can see the arrows are pointing down and across into the barrel. That's exactly what we want. So we want them pointing like this, and this is fine because this goes down, across, down, and then in. The same is true in the middle. These are all fine. These go down and in. This one is not fine. We need to rotate the top one like so, and this should work. You don't have to do it like this. You could do it however you want. I could rotate this one to go that way, and then now it'll go down and around like that. That will still work just fine, so long as every single slot has some kind of pathway to the final barrel here. It should work out just fine. So now, in order to actually make it work, we need a bunch of andesite alloy. We need 4 planks and 1 stone. So planks-wise, we're good to go. Stone-wise, we should be fine. In fact, we have some granite in the system here. And then andesite alloy wise, I did make a bunch between streams. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then fill all the rest of these in with andesite alloy, all we need to do now is give this some kind of rotational energy. Lucky for us, we do not have any cogwheels, so we can craft up a new one like so. And then if we put this down right next to, oh, we gotta go diagonally up. This is fine. If we go here, and then we make one more cogwheel and go here, right next to it like that, it's now overstressed. That is fine. Let's just quickly lower the number on here right down until it starts to work. There we go. 16 is not quite as fast as I would have liked, but as you can see, all of the items then begin moving along their predetermined path. And as soon as they all come together at the bottom right here, it should transform into 2 crushing wheels and be deposited into the barrel. Nice. So now I am going to go ahead and tear down this wall of mechanical crafters. We might need it again in the future. We almost certainly will. But for the time being, it's in a very awkward position. And I know we're not going to need it again in today's episode. In the future, we'll try and find some better place for it. Maybe embed it in the wall or something. Or maybe at the very least have it right up against the wall. Because for now, we need to set up an equally janky system to actually get these crushing wheels online. In order for this to work, I think we're going to need a few more gearboxes, because we need both of these crushing wheels rotating in the opposite direction. If I ponder real quick, you'll see that all we have to do is place these next to each other and have them rotating in the opposite direction. If they rotate in the opposite direction, any item that you drop between them will then get crushed, and the resultant crushed item will be deposited out of the bottom. Nice. So what we need to do is make a few more gearboxes. This would have been very easy if I had all of the machine frames from earlier, but unfortunately, we now have 7 depots in the system instead. And so now I'm going to have to grab some more wood and quickly whip up a bunch more wooden machine frames that we can then turn into andesite casing. So not too long later, we have a few more wooden machine frames. Let's go ahead and turn those into andesite casings. And then from there, we should be able to make a few more gearboxes. I know that we're going to need at least 2 here, and we're definitely going to need some more shaft as well. I'll make quite a bit here. because not only do we need the shaft for all of the cogwheels, let's go ahead and make 8 of these if we can. We'll then craft those up into 2 gearboxes. And then from there, we also want the remainder of that shaft to run the power over here. So I do think we're going to do one more gearbox here, because right now the rotational energy is here, and we kind of want it a bit further out. So give me one more, no, well, give me 2 more cogwheels, and then 1 more gearbox. So with the extra gearbox, we can put one of those down here. We can then use our remaining shaft to move this way, and then we want to have 1 gearbox going one way, and then if we go 1 more shaft and 1 more gearbox, every time you put a gearbox down, it does rotate the direction of energy. So we can do another one like so. And now, as soon as we de-stress again, I did turn it back up after we took down the wall, but if we bring that down just a little bit, we now have 2 wheels that are rotating in opposite directions. And so now, what we need to do, if we're going to make the end portal, which I will go ahead and bookmark, we can unbookmark the mechanical crafters, is we need to go ahead and crush some cinder flour. I think 1 should do it, but just to be safe, we'll go ahead and do a few here. You'll know it's working when you see these particles flying everywhere. And there we go. We have 22 cinder flour. Nice. So now, all we need to do is gather at least 1 egg and 1 sugar. The sugar is obviously easy enough. The egg is not too difficult. I believe we made one in the last stream. Yeah, we need protein and more calcium carbonate. And there we go. There is 1 Minecraft egg. And so now, I'm hoping that 1 blaze cake here is going to be enough. I think it should be. But let's go ahead and drop an egg, a sugar, and a cinder flour into a basin. Now, I think we can temporarily. Normally, a basin is not needed with the mechanical press. But in this scenario, we need to take our basin and put that basin here where the depot is, underneath the press. And then not there. It needs to go here, like that. We can then drop in our sugar, our egg, and our cinder flour. That's going to get kaplunked. That's going to give us a blaze cake base. Then we need to go down to our spout, which is downstairs. Our spout currently should be empty, although it's not because we messed up with not turning this off once it ran out of press. I think that should be fine if we change this to insert, like that, and we set this to extract. We can indeed pull the cobalt back out and into the smeltery. Fantastic. We'll then disconnect that for the time being. And from there, we can't unfortunately just right-click lava into here. It doesn't work. But what we can do is we can grab the extra Mekanism tank that we made in the last stream for experience, and then we can disconnect this, connect this, set this to extract, and put the lava in here. Although, again, we've managed to mess this up here because now there's cobalt in there again. So, one sec. Let's do this to extract it. Once it's extracted, we then need to disconnect this while that's still set to extract, change this from extract to insert, set this here to extract, and then put the lava in. There we go. Okay, so now there's lava in there. We can put our blaze cake down here. That blaze cake is going to get filled. Fantastic. And now, chat, we are finally ready to go. So, what we need to do is we need to move the basin back from here to here. And while I'm at it, I'll also go ahead and put the depot for the mechanical press back as well. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and grab an andesite alloy here and make another andesite casing. Fantastic. Dump those in the system. And now what we need to do is drop in 384 ender pearls, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stacks of ender pearls. And then we also need 6 stacks of sand. So I don't think items despawn in here. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think those will just stay in there. Never mind, you can only put a stack in at a time. That is fine. Let's grab some silicon dioxide from our system and let's see if we can't get 6 stacks of sand. Okay, so we've got 6 stacks of sand. I am being warned by the Twitch chat that if we're not careful here, we can accidentally make snad, because you can make snad in the mechanical mixer by just putting 2 sand in. So I'm being told I've got to give it the blaze cake, then drop in the stack of sand. That should then start making what we're after. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to temporarily take these down. I'm also going to take this down as well. because I want to... Actually, no, put that back because that's useful. I want to increase the speed at which things are going here. I should have done this prior to putting my items in. Very quickly, let's do this, and let's see if we can crank it even further. We can. Can we go up to 192? We totally can. Perfect. Okay. Because I want to make sure we get this done before the superheated blaze burner works out. We only have... This is not working. It's making snad. Hold on. Take everything out. Ender pearl. And sand. It's making snad! Okay. So that didn't work, but I have managed to acquire a second blaze cake. So, I think what we need to do here is we need to drop in 1 ender pearl, 1 sand, then heat this up. That should make the end sand, at which point we can put the end sand into the filter slot. Once the end sand is in the filter slot, then we can drop in everything else. And in fact, I can probably put the stack of ender pearls in ahead of time. That should be fine, because I don't think there's a conflicted recipe there. People are also saying that we might need to fuel this ahead of time, because it really didn't last that long before at all. So let's give it some coal, then let's give it the blaze cake. That's going to hopefully make us end sand. We can then put the end sand in here, and then we can drop a stack of sand in like that, and hopefully that's going to produce a lot of end sand for us. The only question now is how long this burns for. I am almost certain it's not going to burn for anywhere near long enough to get us 384 end sand. Okay, so we've got 27 end sand. Okay, so another blaze cake is what we have. Onto our third. I'm being told now that if we drop in the sand, this time it shouldn't make snad because we've already got the filter on it. So we can drop in a stack of each. Now I'm being told that we should give the blaze cake to the blaze burner. Again, I will give it some fuel ahead of time just in case. I don't think that really plays a role at all, but just to be safe, we'll put some fuel in there. And then we'll give it the blaze cake. And I'm being told that we should then use our time in the bottle to accelerate the speed of the mechanical mixer to get us a bunch of end sand very quickly. So let's do this. Let's do this. Yep, 512 is the max. It does indeed work. Let's do sand. It helps if you can put it in the right place. There we go. We need to be fast. And there we go. We've done it. Nice. Okay, that actually is pretty quick. So in the future, we just need 1 blaze cake, but we need to time in a bottle it. Thankfully, we have a ton of time. We've got 13 hours in our time in a bottle, and so accelerating that to 256x really wasn't too bad. So now we can take this and we can craft it into endstone. Beautiful. Let's do that. Let's do this, and let's do this. That gets us the endstone that we need. And so now, next up on the list is an induction smelter. This guy right here. Because in order to actually make the end portal frame, we need to combine the obsidian, the endstone, and the eyes of ender inside of the induction smelter. The induction smelter here is made with 2 invert gears, 1 machine frame, 1 blast furnace, 1 redstone flux coil, and 2 sand. Now, we need our metallurgic infuser for this. Now, I'm pretty sure we did produce a metallurgic infuser. We did indeed. For now, let's go ahead and put that down right about there. And this does require yet more fuel. So in order to make the redstone flux coil, we need gold and redstone in the metallurgic infuser here. Now, I think it should just be maybe 1 gold and 1 redstone. It's possible it might require a second redstone. Nope, 1 redstone is going to work. While we wait for that to finish, the machine frame requires 3 deployers. We need an iron plate, a tin gear, and a glass. And I think I will probably hijack our current deploying system temporarily to make this happen. It does look like, unfortunately, you can't make tin gears manually. It has to be done either with the smeltery or with the multi-servo press. Over here, this is done. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and grab 3 tin just as soon as our quest box disappears. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we should probably also grab some gold because we are going to have to make a tin cast, much like we've made the repair kit cast and the ingot casts previously. This time around, we just need to get any kind of gear that we can make manually. I think the wooden gear should work. Let's take this. Let's put that down over here. Then if we set the gold to the bottom, we should be able to pull that out over the gear. That did not work, but we should be able to get an iron gear and then do something like this. And then now, if we drop in our 4 tin, as soon as that tin is melted, we should be able to pull it out over the gear cast to get the tin gear. We also need 2 invar gears, which means we're going to need 8 invar. 8 invar is going to be 6 iron and 3 nickel. That's going to get us 9 invar, but you have to make these in sets of 3. While that's smelting, let's pull the tin to the bottom and extract over here. There we go. Let's also move the invar to the bottom and pull 2 of those out. And there we go. We have all of the gears required. So I think that's almost everything that we need here. We've got the redstone flux coil. Let's head on over to our deployers. Let's temporarily get rid of the funnel, and then let's take these off of here. Thankfully, once we've done this the first time, because the first machine that we're making is the induction smelter, going forward, we can use the induction smelter to make future machine frames. Hence why I'm just hijacking this here. It looks like we also need a saw as well. And we need to do this 4 times? Gosh dang it. Okay, never mind. This is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So we need to get 4 iron plates, 4 tin gears, 4 glass, and then a saw. And so I think we have to take a steel casing, which is redstone and a block of steel. Steel we can make by applying a steel plate to the brass casing, but steel we don't have, but steel we should be able to make using the metallurgic infuser, I think. Steel ingot. Yes, we can make steel dust by putting enriched iron dust into the metallurgic infuser with coal, and enriched iron dust we can make by putting an iron ingot into the metallurgic infuser with coal. So, if we get some coal, I don't know if charcoal works or not. It totally does. Nice. We can then put 1 iron ingot in. Then it's going to slowly but surely get transformed into enriched iron. At which point we can put it in again. That's going to get us the steel dust, at which point we can then smelt that into a steel ingot. Beautiful. Then we can take that over to the mechanical press. Again, we need to swap this back out for the depot. That should hopefully get us a steel plate. Fantastic. And then we can right-click that onto a brass casing. And as luck would have it, we do have a brass casing left over. This does have to be done with a deployer. Again, temporarily, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this here so it doesn't refill all of these hands when I empty them out. Let's give this guy the steel plate. And then let's drop down the brass casing. That gets us the steel casing. So now we need to run this through this setup 4 times. So we need 4 iron. We're then going to process that 4 iron into 4 iron plates. While those process, let's get 12 more tin and drop all of that into the smeltery downstairs. Once that's melted, we can then pull that out into 3 more gears. That's going to give us the 4 gears in total that we need. And then the final step is just 1 extra glass, which is just 1 extra sand smelted. Alright, so once we have all of these materials, we do also need to get a saw, which is not something I've used from Create, and thankfully it's fairly easy to make, but it does mean that we are going to have to get 3 more iron plates. Thankfully the iron plates are the easiest part of the equation to make more of, so let's just drop those back on. I am going to assume that the saw requires some kind of power. It does. Now, can I put this here? There's almost no way that's going to work, right? I definitely can't have that just like work on the belt. Like if I do this, I don't think this works, but you know what? Let's give it a try. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. And so the order that we need to put these on in is iron plate, tin gear, and glass. So I'll put the glass on here. We'll put the tin gear here, and we'll put the iron plates on here. So if we drop down our steel casing, it gets deployed with the iron plate, it gets deployed with the tin gear, and it gets deployed with the glass. That doesn't work, but I do need to saw this. Can I just like... I can't put it there. Okay. Interesting. What about if I rotate this? That works. Okay, so this is going to be a little janky. But that's done. Now we need to do that 3 more times. And if all has gone well, that should be done. Nice. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go ahead and temporarily take down the saw here. We can put that down again in the future should we need it. Let's go ahead and move some of this stuff as well. And let's go ahead and reapply all of the encrypted matter like so. And let's reconnect this over here to allow the whole system to continue to function. Nice. Okay. We have our machine frame, finally. So now we need to get the induction smelter. Boom. And we're just missing 1 blast furnace. Thankfully, it's not going to be too difficult for us. We need, I say not too difficult for us. We are completely out of iron. Thankfully, we do have some iron in the system. And so if we just do something like this, again, you got to set it to the right recipe and quickly smelt that up. That should get us the final iron that we need, at which point, chat, finally, we have what it takes to make the blast furnace and then the induction smelter, which again, temporarily, we'll put down right about here because it's next to power. Speaking of power, let's get some fuel into that inval generator there. Fantastic. And so now we should be able to utilize our induction smelter to make 12 end portal frames. So we'll throw in the end stone. We are going to need to get 12 eyes of ender. The ender pearls, of course, we have, but then in terms of making the eyes of ender, we do, of course, also need 12 blaze powder. Now, for that, we're going to need more carbon, germanium, and sulfur. Carbon we have, sulfur we have, and then germanium we have loads of. Fantastic. Okay. And once we have 12 blaze powder, boom, boom, and boom. That's 12 eyes of ender. Let's throw those in here as well. Thankfully, we did gather quite a large amount of obsidian last episode, so boom, we'll throw that in as well. And finally, we should be good to go. So now we just need to wait for this to process these 3 items into 12 end portal frames. While we wait for that, we are going to have to get more sulfur here. Thankfully, we do have a bunch of this sulfur dioxide. The reason we need more sulfur, of course, is that we need another 12 eyes of ender and therefore another 12 blaze powder in order to actually activate the end portal. And not too long later, we have 12 end portal frames. For now, let's go ahead and drop these down outside. Apparently, I'm being told by the Twitch chat that you can pick these up with the create wrench. You totally can. Nice. If you do put them down incorrectly, you can pick them up again, which is fantastic. Just shift right click with the create wrench. Once all these are down, let's go ahead and craft up the eyes of ender, and then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Nice. So currently we have no weaponry and no armor, which I don't think is a particularly good system for fighting the end dragon. And so while we could go through to the end, grab the dragon's breath that we want, and then do a /home to get back, that feels a little cheesy, even though it is fine. Like, you don't have to be in creative mode to do the /home thing. It's part of the pack. And so instead, what I think I might do is I think I still might cheese it, but I might cheese it using RF tools. If we get ourselves a matter transmitter, a matter receiver, and a dialing device, we can set up a teleporter that would allow us to very quickly come back home from the end without having fought the end dragon. And thankfully, none of this stuff is too difficult. We are going to need yet more iron, so we might have to do a little bit more of the gray simulation block dissolving. So once we have enough iron, we can make 1 of those. We do need a few more. Let's get some more blue dye here. Then let's try and make at least 2 more of these machine frames, 2 and 3. Thankfully, a lot easier to make than the machine frames from thermal expansion. Either way, we can then go ahead and craft up 2 redstone torches, 1 and 2, and that gets us the dialing device. From there, we can get a matter receiver and a matter transmitter. So these are super nifty in that if we temporarily steal this generator, which again, you do have to break using a non-Tinker's Pick, otherwise it will be destroyed. What this allows us to do is we can place down the dialing device, we can place down the matter transmitter, and somewhere we can place down the matter receiver. So the matter receiver is what is going to bring us home. So let's go ahead and put this maybe over here, like this. This guy is also going to require power, but we can do that like this. Yeah, let's go quickly power that guy up. But basically, what we can do is in both of these, let's name this one home. And then these do work across dimensions. So over here, let's pretend this one is in the end. We're going to call it end. So we go to the end, we place down the dialing device, the matter transmitter, and we place down our generator. I might look in a second at quickly upgrading this because I think we can get a much higher tier generator very easily. But if we throw all three of these down, put some fuel into it, that's going to then start filling this up. Again, unfortunately, it fills up the matter transmitter first. I guess if we really wanted to, we could probably do this and then get an energy pipe because the energy pipes are a little bit better at distributing the power evenly between the two. But inside the dialing device, you simply click on home, click dial. That's going to link this matter transmitter, because it's the one we've connected, this is the one in the end, to the one at home. And then once this has enough power, you walk through it, and it teleports you to the matter receiver. Nice. So all we need to do is take this setup with us to the end, and then as soon as we have all of the dragon's breath that we need, we can simply walk onto the matter transmitter, and that's going to bring us back through to the overworld. Pretty cool stuff. As I mentioned, there is a fairly easy way for us to upgrade our power output here, and that is to upgrade the invar generator to a signalum generator, and then from there we can very easily upgrade the signalum generator through to an enderium generator. I do believe this is part of the generator's questline. It is indeed, it's this one right here, and unlike the invar generator that's only producing 48 redstone flux per tick, we're going to produce 512 redstone flux per tick, so almost so over a 10x increase in power output with the enderium generator. And neither of these are too difficult to make. The signalum ingot is made in the mixer here with copper, silver, and redstone. Again, we only need 2 batches of this to get the 8 that we need. And then the enderium is much the same. It is in the mixer, 4 ender pearls, 1 platinum, and 3 lead. The only thing we might be missing is platinum, but never fear, we have all that we need. So let's grab 6 lead and a bunch of ender pearls. Let's also grab the redstone. Thankfully, this is coming in much faster now thanks to the mob farm. Let's grab some silver. And let's grab 6 copper. And then back over here, we are going to have to give this guy some fuel. Thankfully, this time it's not a blaze cake that it requires. And then what we can do is we can drop in 2 silver, 6 copper, and a bunch of redstone. Take off the filter. That should make us 2 lots of signalum. Fantastic. Once we have that, we can then throw in the ender pearls with the lead and the platinum. And boom, 8 enderium as well. Nice. So now we craft up the signalum to get the signalum generator and the enderium to get the enderium generator. And we now have a system that is going to produce 512 redstone flux per tick as opposed to just the 48 that we had previously. I think we will also fairly shortly do the same thing with the generator for the quarry as well to make that just a little bit faster. Although again, hopefully the quarry is not going to be something we're using for too long after we get digital resources up and running. So real quick, let me make sure this guy has enough power. The super cool thing about this as well is that it doesn't use, like it doesn't burn the fuel any faster, I don't think. If it is, it's a very small amount faster, but this still lasts quite a while in here. And it looks like that is full. It is, fantastic. So we should have a bunch of glass bottles. We do, thanks to the mob farm. We're storing those that we get from the mob farm. Let's head on through. We don't have many diamonds. I'm going to make a diamond helmet, chat. That's going to save us, just in case. So, real quick, let's do matter transmitter, generator, dialing device. Put that in there. Dial home. That's all good to go. All right. Let's see if we can't get some dragon's breath. So we'll just patiently wait for this dragon to land. So we don't actually need a ton of dragon's breath. Like we're going to need more going forward, but we can always come back and use our matter transmitters again to get what we need. Now we do have to get either shulker shells. Actually, we need to get shulker shells in order to progress here. I'm going to hide just so the dragon doesn't get to us. But if we're going to make the null chipset, which again is needed not just for the resource generator, but also for all of the chipsets that we're going to make going forward, we need shulker shells. Thankfully, shulker shells can be made with calcium carbonate and lutetium can be got from chorus fruit. So if we can get some chorus fruit, we can bring it back. Not only can we grow it in a bonsai pot to get an infinite amount of chorus fruit going forward, and therefore an infinite number of sugar shells, but we can also just get a bunch of it from the end. In fact, if we grab our nature's compass, I'm fairly certain that if we go to the end highlands biome, which is 1,500 blocks in this direction, we should be able to get a bunch of chorus fruit fairly easily. And a quick short haul flight to the end highlands biome later, and we have the ability to gather quite a large number of chorus fruit here. We could, to be honest, probably grab more than we're going to need for the entirety of the digital resources mod just from this area of the end alone. And so once we have all this chorus fruit, though, we should just be able to fly back and dissolve this to get the lutetium. The lutetium, I think, is also needed to actually make the nether star, which is what I intend to do here. We can craft together 64 lutetium, 64 titanium, 64 dysprosium, and 64 mendelevium, and that's going to get us one nether star, which is required to make the resource simulator here. But yeah, let's grab a bunch of chorus and then head back and see if we can't make at least one sugar shell. Okay, so we have a few stacks of chorus fruit, and very helpfully, the Twitch chat has pointed out that whenever you leave and come back to the end via the end portal, the platform and everything on top of it will be deleted. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to try and not die to the end dragon here, but we're also going to move this entire setup over to the main end platform here, just so we don't lose all of this stuff whenever we come back. So let's dial that in. This is all good to go. I am going to bring this back with me because there's no need to leave it here in the end as soon as both of these have enough power. Can we get back? We totally can. Fantastic. And so now, all we should have to do is break down some of the chorus fruit. I did also get a few chorus flowers, so we can grow more if we decide to, using the bonsai pot. Once we have enough lutetium to make one sugar shell, which is only 8, we can then... Actually, let's leave this going, because we do need 64 lutetium in order to get the nether star. Speaking of which, the other items that we need here, we need titanium, dysprosium, mendelevium. Titanium, I believe we've gotten before. We got it via titanium oxide. The titanium oxide we can get from basalt. We can also, I believe, get it from blackstone as well. And so I think a quick trip to the nether here is going to get us everything that we need to get all of the titanium oxide to get a stack of titanium. The dysprosium is in a lot of stuff. You can get it from cobblestone. You can get it from smooth stone. I don't know what's going to be the easiest for us here. I think just maybe a bunch of stone is potentially the best bet. It's only a 1% chance, but we can get a lot of stone very quickly by crafting up compressed cobblestone, which we're already getting over here, and then we can just smelt that compressed cobblestone into compressed stone, and then we can decompress that into regular stone that we can then break down to try and get dysprosium. And then finally, there is the mendelevium, and this is where our cryptocurrency mining comes into play, because you get 32 mendelevium from one wither skeleton skull, and as luck would have it, you can purchase a wither skeleton skull for 48 cryptocurrency from the store. So as always, we'll make sure we have the exact amount. Purchase one skull. Again, make sure we have the exact amount. Purchase a second skull. Drop both of those over into the dissolver. That gets us all the mendelevium. And so now all we have to do is break down a ton of stone to try and get us the dysprosium, and go grab some basalt or blackstone and break that down for the titanium, at which point we should have everything that we need to make a nether star. So I'm almost there on making this nether star here. We've got the lutetium, we've got the titanium, we've got the mendelevium, and we're almost there on the dysprosium. It is taking a while, though, because it's a low percentage chance to turn stone into dysprosium, but we're getting there. Now, in order to actually make the resource simulator, as we saw right at the beginning of the stream, we need a lot of netherite. We need 1 block here, we need 4 per upgrade module, and then we need 2 more here for 19 in total. So we need 19 netherite, and right now we have 0 netherite. So there are a few ways we can do this. We can make netherite by using scrap and gold, and we can make the scrap using the combiner, which is just carbon and tungsten. It's not particularly expensive. However, if we're going to get the netherite chipset, which I think might be a good first chipset to get, simply due to the fact that it's going to make making more of the resource simulators easier in the future. If we can get an infinite amount of the ancient debris, of the debris here, it's going to make getting more resource simulators super easy. So to get the netherite chipset, we need 8 ancient debris, and ancient debris, you have to go to the nether to get it. So I think what I might do is temporarily rework the quarry over here, and use the filter that we made previously to specifically filter for netherite or ancient debris in the nether, which should allow us to hopefully get some ancient debris rather quickly, especially in combination with our new, faster Enderium generator. Again, don't use that pickaxe, Isaac. You want to make sure you use the right pickaxe. Although, to be fair, we don't even need to break this. We can leave this here. We can just go and use the new generator that we've got. Let's take this out. Let's grab this, and let's grab the filter. We already have it. And let's head on through to the nether. So, once we're in the nether, we need to change our quarry cart here. I'm going to make this real big. I'm going to go 512 by 512. So it's going to be a big cube, but we don't want it to be very tall. We want it to be a very small area, because the ancient debris, it's only available between Y levels like 5 and 25, but it's most concentrated between like Y levels 10 and 16. So those 6 Y level chunks are really the only ones that we want to scan. So we're going to set this to 6 tall. We then need to figure out where we're currently at. We're currently at Y level 32. So we need to offset this negatively. We want to offset this by negative 26, I believe. Make sure it's solid and drop it in. Let's make sure we get some fuel for our generator. Let's put a chest on top like this, and let's get our lever down like this. Then we need to get our filter module, add tags. I think netherite might be the tag. If you don't know the tag to something, if you press F3H, it will show the tag. We are after Forge Ores netherite scrap, I believe is what we're after here. So add tag, netherite scrap. This one right here. If it shows the right block, then you know you've done it correctly, at which point we can put this into the filter slot. And now if we turn this on, it's going to start scanning. So it goes down a little too low here. It's going down to Y level 5. So I have offset that incorrectly. Let me lower that to like negative 22. It looked like it was a bit too low, actually. So let's try that again. We do need to make sure that we restart it here. So we'll take that out, put it back in, and start it again. So this time, it goes down. It's still too low, right? We want to be between Y levels 10 and 16. So let's do like 18 here. Take it out, put it back in, turn it on. There we go. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and then it restarts. Nice. So this is going to go ahead and scan all 1,089 chunks that we've designated. That's a 512 by 512 block area around us, and it's going to scan every single chunk for ancient debris, and if it finds any of that ancient debris, it's going to deposit it into this chest. So real quick, I'm going to go to FTB chunks, I'm going to click on the chunk that we're in, and then if we shift-click the chunk, it's going to force load that chunk. So now this is going to stay chunk loaded even when we leave, and so hopefully, while we work on getting the remaining dysprosium by breaking down even more stone in the dissolver, this is going to slowly work on getting us more ancient debris. Really, we only need 8 to get us the chipset, but if we could get more than 8, that would be great, because it's going to allow us to avoid having to go through alchemistry and avoid making a bunch of netherite scrap using carbon and tungsten, which is possible, but less than ideal. Also, yes, of course, chat is right. We can use the time in a bottle if we really wanted to make this faster. It is going to start chugging through power very quickly if we do use the time in a bottle. And unfortunately, I don't think the time in a bottle works on these generators. Like, you can use it, but I don't actually think that it does anything. So it's not really worth using it. It just wastes your stored time. But either way, we'll leave that running. We'll go get some more dysprosium, and then we'll come back once we have a stack of dysprosium and see how much netherite scrap we have. So quite a while later, we now have 64 dysprosium, and so we should, in theory, be able to get ourselves our first nether star. 1 stack of lutetium, 1 stack of dysprosium, 1 stack of titanium, and 1 stack of mendelevium gets us 1 nether star. So we managed 47 here, which is way more than we need to make the chipset. And we do still have quite a bit of power available here. So we can, if we want, use yet more of our 14.5 hours that we have in the bottle here to accelerate this a little further. If you don't want the power to deplete rapidly, you can do like just a small number, 2x, 4x. I think 2x would probably be fine, like it'd take a while to deplete, but given that we might as well, we can just deplete this nice and quickly and squeeze out the extra 3 ancient debris. Why not? So we'll leave this here, we'll let it do its thing, and we'll head back. So how much netherite can we get from 50 ancient debris? So we need 8 of this saved. I'll put that 8 away because we need that for the chipset. Now, the remaining, and actually we're out of space in our system, which is not surprising. I have just been dumping a lot of elements into the system here. As you can see, we are a little bit clogged here. Let me take all of the iron out and we'll actually just transfer that into actual iron. That's going to free up a bit of space for us to put that 8 ancient debris into the system. And then the rest here, we can smelt into netherite scrap. That's not going to be a ton of netherite, right? If it's 4 netherite scrap per ingot, that's 10 netherite ingots, and we do need 19 netherite ingots in order to actually get what it is that we're after. And this is actually no better, right? Because this just gets us 16 tungsten and 16 carbon, which is then exactly just 1 netherite scrap. So I think unless we get into an enrichment chamber, there's no way to change this, although the enrichment chamber probably isn't too difficult for us to make here. The steel casing we can make with redstone and a block of steel. The steel is not too difficult to make now that we have the metallurgic infuser. It's 9 iron and 9 coal. Will get us 9 steel, which we can then combine with 1 redstone to get us the steel casing. From there, we need redstone, iron, and 2 basic control circuits. Yeah, no, this seems actually completely fine. So we have very little in the way of coal. Thankfully, charcoal does work. So let's quickly grab 8 more logs and just smelt those down. Iron is coming in. Let's drop the coal in there and the iron in there. And let's see if we can't make a block of steel. The time in a bottle does help out quite a bit here because by default, the metallurgic infuser is very, very slow. But we are almost there. There is our 9th piece of steel dust. Let's go ahead and smelt that up over in here. We do need a little bit more in the way of oak. I'm not quite sure why the steel dust is so fast. Like, compared to everything else, that smelts incredibly quickly. Either way, let's go ahead and craft up the block of steel. And then we need to combine the block of steel with just 1 redstone, I think it might have been. It totally was. Again, we can use a little bit of time in a bottle here to make that just a little bit faster. Then we can put in our 2 redstone and 2 osmium. That's going to get us the 2 basic control circuits. And once we have both of those, we can then craft up our enrichment chamber, which again, temporarily we'll put down right about here. I know it's janky as heck, but we can now drop our ancient debris into here. And just to be safe, let me check. I did put 8 away. And just like before, we can use our time in a bottle to make this a little bit faster. And hopefully, that should rather quickly get us the amount of netherite scrap we're going to need to make the resource simulator. The only problem then is whether or not we have enough gold. We've got 32 gold here, but we do also have a ton of gold available in element form. So let's go ahead and quickly process that as well into ingot form here. All right, we did have to get a little bit more gold via cobblestone. I just put some quadruple compressed cobblestone in here. That got us some more gold, which we've then been smelting up. But we now have 19 netherite ingots. And so I think, finally, chat, we should be good to go here. Let's make 1 block of netherite. Let's craft up 2 of these upgrade modules if we have enough gold for it, which we don't. Again, that might be fine. Let's grab another quadruple compressed cobblestone, drop that in here. I think as we take stuff out, we're going to get a lot of silicon here, but as we take stuff out, more things should get created. Also, there is a bit of a visual glitch sometimes where it doesn't show you the items that are actually in here, but I think we got all the gold there. Let's grab the gold element, run that through here. We only need a few more. 5 might be enough. Let's get that second upgrade module. And then now, all we're missing is the null chipset. For that, we need 2 more gold, as well as the shulker shell. The shulker shell requires the 8 lutetium, which we have, we've got 32, as well as some more calcium carbonate. We have got lutetium, and we have calcium carbonate. Fantastic. So, let's go for the shulker shell, calcium carbonate, and lutetium. Boom. Again, we can always make more in the future should we need to. And so now we're just missing 2 golden ingots and we're going to be good to go. I am starting to think that maybe we should have gone with a gold chipset first. Or maybe we still can, I guess. Like, we're not locked in to the netherite chipset just yet. But it might be worth getting a gold chipset instead of a netherite chipset. But then again, in order to get a gold chipset, I believe we need 8 blocks of gold. Gold chipset. Yeah, we do need 8 blocks of gold to make that happen. So we're not quite ready to get that just yet. Either way, we do have what it takes to make the null chipset, and then from there we can craft up the resource simulator. Now, again, in order for this to actually do anything, we do have to get a chipset. We were going to get the netherite chipset. In order to make that, we do need another one of these. So in fact, actually, I do need to go ahead and make another shulker shell. That is fine. That is just a little bit more in the way of calcium carbonate. That's 2 more shulker shells. Good to go. Back over to the netherite chipset. we're now just missing 2 more netherite ingots, which should be fine. We've got more netherite scrap for that. But then again, we're missing gold. So you guessed it, chat. Once again, we need to go break down some cobblestone. This time around, I need 11 gold and a few quadruple compressed cobblestone. Later, we have what I hope is the last bit of gold that we're going to need for today. Let's craft up 2 more netherite ingots. 1 and 2. Let's craft up the chipset. Let's transform that into a netherite chipset, and then let's drop that into here. Nice. So this is in, and as you can see, it's very slowly but surely producing stuff. Now, there's a few things you can do here. Again, if we go to digital resources, as I mentioned right at the start of the stream, we can make the speed upgrades. That is going to make it faster at producing a batch of netherite. I believe right now it's only going to produce 1 netherite, potentially 1 netherite scrap, actually. I don't know whether or not it produces the... Yeah, it produces 1 netherite scrap. So when this gets to the end of the line, it will produce 1 netherite scrap, which might not seem like much, but this is free, doesn't require any power whatsoever, and more importantly, it's upgradable. So you can make the speed upgrades to make it faster, and you can make the quantity upgrades to get more than 1 every time. And if you put in the maximum number of speed and quantity upgrades, you can start producing stacks of netherite very, very quickly. Chat is also right. Again, we can use our time in a bottle, which I think currently is in the system. Again, we've got 14 hours in here, so if we do something like this and take it all the way up to 256, it's going to start to produce that netherite scrap fairly quickly. Again, if you do this alongside of quantity upgrades or speed upgrades, you can make this insane. Now, the speed upgrades are pretty easy. They're made with the null upgrades, which are gold and netherite with a bit of redstone, surrounded by sugar. Sugar we can, of course, get in large quantities thanks to the snad. The quantity upgrades are a little bit trickier. These require, again, the upgrade module, this time with phantom membrane and end crystals. But to be honest, I don't think either of these are too bad. The phantom membrane is chlorine, sulfur, and mercury, all of which we have and all of which we can get more of fairly easily. And then the end crystals are glass, which we can make in abundance, eyes of ender, which we can also make in abundance, and then the gas tiers, which again are made just with mercury, sulfur, and carbon, all of which we can get in fairly large amounts. And so I don't really think it's going to be too difficult for us to get a large number of quantity and speed upgrades and therefore make these quite powerful. I do think the next chipset we should get should definitely be the gold chipset. Once we have a netherite chipset and a gold chipset, we can maybe get a redstone chipset. And once we have those 3 chipsets, making more chipsets is going to be super easy, right? Because at that point, we can either just upgrade these to make the netherite, gold, and redstone faster, or we can use what time in a bottle we have to make that faster as well. And then once we have chipsets for all 3 of those, we can look at making more resource simulators. For that, we are going to have to get more nether stars. And ideally, I think we're going to set up some kind of automatic wither spawning and killing system as opposed to trying to make all of the nether stars using our chemistry, because while it is possible, it's very, very, very slow, especially in terms of getting the dysprosium. But yeah, going forward, our plan is going to be to try and get many, many more of these resource simulators, upgrade them to be as fast as possible and produce as much as possible, and then from there we're going to have to work on a better storage system to store all that, and from there we can look at progressing forward specifically towards the end-of-life questline here, because we are going to need a bunch of these singularities, which means we're going to need a bunch of all of the different resources in the game, including a bunch of all of the different ingots as well. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's stream there.